I don't have an intro. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This is the and sorry for the camera setup and everything like that. I still have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I literally have no fucking clue. I'm just winging it at this point. A long time ago, I believe, when the fuck did I come out with this? There it is, March 18th. It's been almost 2 months. I'm so sorry. On March 18th, I had an idea to make this funny little trailer for a Star Rail themed D&D. A lot of people liked it, Star Rail themed D&D. It was a beautiful idea, I couldn't wait to work on it, got distracted with so much other stuff. There's 24 hours in the day, and I spend 16 of it sleeping and working my full-time job. And then the remaining 8, over half of it is rendering. So I have not a lot of time in my days to do stuff. So it's been put off for a while. Anyways, the conclusion I came to was that Star Rail is a terrible game to try and put into D&D. Star Rail just has so many little mechanics that are so backwards or just have no similar concept in D&D. And so I thought, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just make a brand new thing. See how it goes. A lot of people were interested in playing D&D on our Discord server. Join, link in the doobly. I said what Matt Colville says down in the description. We do stuff there, we hang out. Everyone there is really weird, but they're all into gacha and now they're into D&D, so it's a fun little safe place. Lurk for a bit before you jump in. Some of them are a bit too weird. They know who they are. Anyways, before we get distracted anymore, Star Rail themed TTRPG. Now, for those just joining, I don't know if I'm going to do this in post-processing style or if I'm going to do this in a live stream format. I don't know. Leave a comment down below if, on your preference, what you think would happen, what you think would be a better way to display this. Anyways, we are going to make our own thing, but I want this to be in smaller chunks rather than big bits, because I want to keep it simple. So, for the sake of this, we are doing a Star Rail themed TTRPG, but it is going to be a wholly brand new whatever system, and then I'm going to use my Discord slaves members to playtest it, because they are all Star Rail fans and now they are all TTRPG fans, so it's perfect. Perfect. So let's get to it, shall we? We're gonna do a quick thing. This is just gonna be the general scan of themes, traits, key features, and stuff like that we're gonna identify in both, and we're gonna pick out the similarities, throw away the ones that don't work, and move on from there. I made another document over here where I kind of worked on a few ahead of time just to kind of think on it, but what we got so far, build a TTRPG with a Star Rail theme. So what's a TTRPG? TTRPG is a role-playing game. It's a cooperative, interacting storytelling game. Players and the DM come together, or GM, whatever the name of your preferred game leader is. You come together, you do an improvised storytelling experience. The GM or DM sets the scene. The players tell that person what they do with that. Depending on what it is and the risk value or the difficulty of it, they will engage in a game mechanic, which in the case of D&D is dice. In the case of other games, cards maybe. I think there's one that does a Jenga tower, for fuck's sake. And they, due to the random math rocks, see what the outcome is. It adds a random element to it, keeps everybody on their toes. The GM or DM then tells them the results and sets the new scene, and then the players do again what they did before, which is tell the DM or GM what they do with that. And it just goes back and forth until some crazy ass narrative gets written and everybody has a fun time. It is a lot of verbal communication. Lots of it, which is why I hate social rules in TTRPGs. But anyways, what is Star Rail? It's a gacha game. Gamba. You know what Star Rail is. RPG, turn-based, narratively driven, a lot of story, a lot of character development. Not as deep as a TTRPG, but a lot of team building to overcome your goals and progress through the story. If you're watching this, you probably are here because of Star Rail, more than likely, so you already know. Anyway, let's move on to the features here. So, TTRPG key features. I got a couple here. And so if you've never used the program I'm using here, this is called Natural Crit. It's a homebrewery thing. Everything you type into it is keyed to look like the D&D 5e handbook. I love it. I use it for a lot of things. Makes things very, very easy. Let's check it out here. So for TTRPGs, what do we have? We have deep. As soon as I learn how to spell. Deep and detailed character creation / customization. Oh God, I need this mic, Jesus Christ. I can't see my own keyboardy. If you're the kind of person who cares very deeply about spelling, grammar, punctuation, this is literally just raw notes. There's going to be no form of decent, correct English language in here, so you should probably cover your eyes now. What do we have? What do we have here? Dice or some form, some form of random decision making. There we go. And then what do we have after that? Equipment is another one. There's usually a lot of equipment. And for people who are curious, I am going to be using 5e as the big example of this for Dungeons & Dragons. It's just the system I'm most familiar with. So it's the easiest for me to be able to roll that off the tongue. I can already hear all the Blade in the Dark aficionados freaking out. But what else do we have here? TTRPGs is probably going to be some sort of combat system. In the case of D&D, the same as Star Rail, is turn-based initiative. What else do we have? Travel mechanics. There's usually some kind of travel. Imagination is the limit, is how it works for TTRPGs. Pretty much anything you can imagine, you can work with. Everything's very flexible. Very, very flexible. Most people typically need a way to go somewhere, so there's usually some general pillars or rules of travel. Travel / social mechanics. My God, hi. People are gonna really get an eye on how I do typing, which is just chaos. What else can we do here? So just, and this is, I'm doing very, very general basic building blocks. I'm not going into any form of super depth or the nitty gritty detail and stuff like that. This is really just like the basic, like most basic shit you could look at. And I'm sure there's going to be people who have opinions that say otherwise, but now what do we have about Star Rail? Star Rail key elements. Turn-based. Turn-based is the big one. There is no movement in combat. No movement in combat. That's going to make this very different. What else do we have here? The paths. Paths are a big thing in Star Rail. It's a very big determiner on not just the lore of your character, but also the, and you're going to see it's getting like really awkward and weird and tipsy over there. I'll be able to adjust that. I'm doing the editing on the other side of the screen over here. But yeah, the paths determine a lot of the character's build, their concept. After that is the element, another integral form of gameplay mechanic, mainly combat. You do not see the element come up almost at all in the story. The path is sort of like a religious thing, or just like your alignment, if you would, compared to D&D. And even then, that's same as D&D. That doesn't mean it's set in stone. Outside of the alignment, what are the elements? Light cones. Light cones, the only form of equipment you have outside of relics. Which brings me to the next one, relics, which is equipment. So, got an overarching combination there. What else do we have? Character building, which is another one for D&D. Now, character customization. Now, you can't customize your character in Star Rail. I hear you. I already hear you crying out. Yes, you can. In D&D, you can customize quite literally every single aspect of your character in every sense of the word possible. It's just how it is. In Star Rail, you can only customize what the devs let you customize, which is like a couple things. Your light cone, your relics. That's really it. Oh, but you can level up your character. Yeah. Is that really character customization, though? Like, you don't control that. Yes, I do. I can choose to do it or not. Well, I hope you enjoyed not getting out of the space station. But, yeah, character building. And then what else do we have? What else do we have? Oh yeah, that's something that Star Rail has that is character. Let's we'll just type it there because I have a feeling someone's gonna get mad at me if I don't do it that way. What do we have? Brake mechanics. That's something Star Rail has that D&D has no imitation of. And then limited by dev choices. There we go. Do I have anything else? No, I think that was it. Okay, so back this up real quick. Good. Now we can customize more junk. Look at me learning how stuff works. This is amazing. All right, so similar the shared features, if you will. Definitely character customization. That's good. You definitely want that. I think there needs to be a very wide amount. Maybe paths aren't really class, but if you think about it, it is. Right? Destruction, a lot of HP, a lot of damage. It's a mix of single target, it's a mix of multi-target. They're typically a bit tankier. And they usually have mechanics that cost HP in some way, shape, or form. Hunt is your rogues or your rangers. It's the single target stuff. And then erudition is your AoE. That's your spellcaster type people. Preservation, you got the tanks. Harmony, you have your buff classes. Nihility, you have your debuffs or your damage over time type characters. Abundance is the healers. Remembrance is like a summoner class, which then can be anything after that. I don't know. I'm not far enough in the game to know much about Remembrance, but it just seems like they're just sort of whatever they want to be with a summon. So that's the problem with Star Rail that I foresee happening, is that like they already covered the entire MMO class style roster of roles, and then there's like 6 more paths to go still. So Star Rail games are gonna get real creative. Star Rail devs in the future are gonna have to get real creative with what they do, because every role is filled and they need to figure out what the hell they're gonna do. Elation is, if they ever come out with Elation, it's probably just gonna be some weird like side branch of Nihility, mechanic wise. But who knows? We'll see. We shall see. We shall see. Remembrance is would not have been summon type classes if I was in charge of the development. Anyways, they're back to it. What else do we have shared? Equipment is a shared factor in the form of relics and light cones. And then what else do we share here? Typically some sort of combat system. And then Star Rail doesn't have a travel system. It just has a series of fast travels. But in the case of a TTRPG where it's going to be open world, you can make a bunch of decisions and stuff like that. It's in space. I think there needs to be a travel system for ground and space travel. So all those fans of Starfinder out there playing Star Rail, how cool would Star Rail be if you could have a like spaceship battle, like Star Wars or Star Trek? That would be epic. So I think that's a really cool element you could tie in, and it would make it very diverse from D&D and Star Rail, the things we're basing this off of. Very Spelljammery. Let's see, and then equipment, imagination, social mechanics, no. For people wondering why I haven't included anything about social or story, it's because, just personal take, I think story and social mechanics in a TTRPG are useless. It's, you are all people at a table communicating and you are all there for the same goal. Let the GM make the story, and even then they can't make the story because it relies on the player's choices on how it goes. So if you ask me what a social and a story mechanic is, it's the people sitting at that table, not what's written in that book. If it's everyone at the table, you can come up with whatever story you want. If it's what's in the book, you are immediately handicapped in what you can do. So there will more than likely not be a single social or story-based rule that you see unfold on this document. So again, for you Blade in the Dark aficionados, you probably already left. So, poor guys, I'm sorry. I do want to play that game, trust me. I really do, but it's just not my cup of tea at the moment. So what do we have? Clash equals paths, element and break. How do we do element? D&D has different damage types, but they're not a defining factor like they are in Star Rail. Also, the other thing in Star Rail about the elements is that characters that have an element also usually, in some cases, aren't even portrayed as that element, right? Like, example of one of my favorite characters, Black Swan. She's wind, but if you look at her abilities, there's nothing even remotely hinting at wind in her whole kit, right? Sampo's wind. The dude literally stabs you with daggers. There's no wind there. The Herda, she is ice element. She doesn't use any ice. She blasts you with laser beams like a wizard. I was gonna say Fei Xiao's wind, but she doesn't use wind, but she very clearly at one point like summons a tornado. You know, so like some of the characters, the element doesn't even matter. For a break system, this would be another one we gotta cover. So combat system, if it's a TTRPG, it won't be turn-based. Well, okay, hold on. How do we word that? Because it will be turn-based, but it won't be like Star Rail turn-based where you're not moving. The other thing about Star Rail is attacks don't miss. In D&D, they miss all the time. So we gotta do that. Combat system. So the big ones are gonna be movement. Oh, I gotta really do that. Combat system, adding movement, and attacks can miss. That's gonna be crazy. So this is pretty good. What do we got? Elements and break we'll need to work on. Travel system is easy enough. Combat system, movement and attacks can miss, which that's gonna somehow find a way to tie back into element and break as well. Class being paths, I don't know how I feel about that one. Paths could just be like a side branch, and then classes could be something else. Because a big feature of Star Rail is that all the character kits are hand-tailored to the character and a little bit of their lore. TTRPGs don't have that, right? You're not playing a unique character set in the narrative with a whole history and everything about them is something established that you could use for an ability. You're a completely normal schmuck who's the same as the next schmuck that plays that class. Oh, well, your subclass makes you different? It does, but then the next dude who plays your subclass is also not any different from you. There's a lot of variety, but if you all play the same thing, you're playing the same thing. In Star Rail, even if you play the same preservation characters, like, if you look at them and read them and like actually go in depth to them, they're all very different. They're all very unique. They accomplish the same goal at the end of the day, but they're all very unique. Everything about them, like I said, is tailored to them. In this, you wouldn't have that, right? Unless you, as the DM, sat down with a player and you quite literally hand-built your kit, which would be crazy. So I think as a good starting point, right here, the features we work on. So how the characters are built, how they're customized, what do you do for a class and path? How do we make that comparison? Making relics and light cones into your basic D&D equipment. And then a combat system, which is gonna blow everything about Star Rail out of the water, because as a TTRPG, you're gonna be moving around and you have a chance to miss your attacks. There's gonna be a lot more decision making, whereas in Star Rail, you really only have 2 options, and every once in a while you have a third with an ulti. So that's gonna be insane for this. Travel system for grounded space, hell yes, that's gonna be awesome. I love the idea of space travel. And then figuring out what the heck we're gonna do with element and break. If you liked it, if you're interested, if you want to see where this goes, this is just the first one, so there's plenty of change and customization and stuff that's going to come. The further we go into this, nothing's set in stone. Everything is completely malleable, and you know, everything has a potential to 180 or completely flip on its head. And then another big one is if you think this should be post-processed or you think it should be live, please leave a comment down below. Actually, on that, let's just head to the outro. Thanks for watching. If you indeed are interested in this, please subscribe, like, join for the ride. If If you have any comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, and or witticisms about this, about D&D, about Star Rail, about what we're doing here, please leave a comment down below. If you have suggestions, if you have ideas, if you have concerns even. I already said concerns in my own outro. I am so bad at outros. I really should just do an outro that is the same as my intro, i.e. I don't have one. Maybe I'll work on that. Anyways, please share your thoughts with me down below. If you have any more things you want to do, if you're interested in playing D&D, please join our Discord. Again, it's weird in there, watch out. Anywho, I'm ranting and rambling way too much already. I wanted this video to be short, and it's already like 20-something minutes. Adios, have fun all. Wow, that was a mess.